Hey Leo, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and I'm here today with your March 2024 monthly horoscope. These horoscopes are based on whole sign Western astrology in the Pacific time zone. So if you are not in the Pacific, please adjust for your location. These videos are also applicable for Leo moon, as well as Leo sun, and any stelliums in Leo, which would be 3 or more personal planets in the sign of Leo. If you are a little bit more advanced and familiar with your chart, I would also look at it in the Placidus house system. I happen to have a late degree Aries rising, so that makes the first house for me primarily Taurus, and definitely changes the energy and how I show up and how I perceive myself out in the world. So I think that's a significant influence. And when we look at it in whole sign, that can actually dumb down that dynamic. So that's if you know astrology a little bit, you might want to check that out. Okay, so let's jump in because the month starts off with Pluto at 1 degree of Aquarius, which is making an opposition to your seventh house. Seventh house is the house of peace and harmony and cooperation and partnership and committed relationships through contracts, literally legal contracts. It rules civility and police officers and people who are civil servants in many ways. So as Pluto is going to make this opposition, it's going to hang out in that early degrees of Aquarius. And then in the fall time, it will retrograde back into your 6th house of Capricorn. I think that this is a significant thing to be aware of because Pluto, while most people talk about Pluto in a rather traumatic way, Pluto rules death and rebirth. It's the cycle of life. It also reveals where people have power and control over us, where our fears, our own thoughts have power and control over us in ways that hold us back. So, not every Leo rising is going to experience trauma or death or divorce when Pluto transits through your 7th house. It could very well revolutionize your relationships and broaden and birth a whole new chapter as the phoenix rises from what has been. So let's talk a little bit about the house of Aquarius. This is the house that really is called an Upachaya house. It's a house that matures over time. It's naturally ruled by Uranus and in ancient times, Saturn. It has domain over our hopes and our dreams. It rules humanitarian things, futuristic things. It's very visionary and independent, unconventional, progressive. It rules science. It rules large social groups and causes and can be a bit emotionally detached, and that's because it sees things from such a big picture. Now we kind of uh, overlay the idea that this is your 7th house of partnerships. That's what it's traditionally called. So I think it's important to say, what do I want in the way of my partnerships? And again, I want to sort of emphasize that this could very well be new career moves. This could be a partnership with yourself, with your future self, with how you show up in the 1st and 7th house axis is the two me's make a we. And sometimes in the 7th house, the we is so strong that I forget that I'm me, an individual. And Leo very much is an expressive individual. It rules the zodiac. It also, just on sort of a mundane level, Aquarius rules the nervous system, technology, lightning. It rules the stars and heaven and space. And of course, unexpected change. So here we see Pluto coming into this house for you, the 7th house, starting I think you felt this in 2023, actually, as Pluto tipped its toe into Aquarius. So I would urge you to look at this as a committed relationship to yourself and how that relationship and your self-expression and your creativity actually brings benefit to every partnership that you have. We also see that March also starts off with here Saturn the Sun and Mercury. They've been having a conversation since late February, and now we take this into March. And this is significant. Pisces happens to be your 8th house of transformation. We were just talking about Pluto, the planet that rules transformation. And here, I think that Saturn, while many astrologers will say Saturn is repressive and depressive and, authority and things that rule and govern over us, here in Pisces, I think Saturn is offering us an opportunity to build a strong relationship with our spiritual self, with God, with the angels, with source energy, with your higher power, whatever you want to call it. This is where we start to have the tenacity, where we have the emotional endurance to believe things that we cannot see with our eyes, but we have called forth from the universe. And with the Sun, the Sun goes through the sign fairly quickly, but it is offering a conversation about my personal ego drive and how I assert myself and how I think about myself and what do I speak about myself. So this whole conversation is really powerful, because when we take the higher vibrations of these planets, we're making a spiritual connection to a deeper part of ourselves that unleashes us from the maybe potential Plutonian fears that lie beneath the deepest psychology that we are not aware of. We also see that at this time, this stellium starting the month off is making a sextile to Jupiter. And very loose sextile to Uranus. But this Jupiter here is expansion, it's belief, it's my ideologies, my philosophies, offering me to go into foreign territory, meaning foreign territory in my mind, foreign territory in my heart. It's not always just about moving the physical. Taurus is your 10th house of career and public status. And this sextile supports this anchoring in of your creativity in a double dose. Pisces is super creative. It rules dance and song and poetry and film and filmography and photography and sort of like avatars and things that are futuristically fanciful, whimsical is the word I want to use. So I think this is a really supportive aspect. And as Jupiter becomes more and more in a tighter conversation with Uranus, this is going to really, we're building up into this energy that's going to take us not only into April when we have the grand conjunction between these two planets, that's going to take us, set a platform for moving forward in the year 2024 and beyond. So I think this is really powerful. We see too that Venus and Mars are having a conversation over here in Aquarius, and they're going to continue to dance a bit. And I think in this respect, when Venus was in Capricorn in February, she was very much focused on making money, very much focused on building something for herself. And while Mars traditionally represents the man, this represents the woman. Here, I'm thinking that this is taking the gender out of it and making it more of an action about being brave in my thought, in my way of being, looking to the future of how I'm building and remembering that the universe responds to my emotional body. It does not respond to the words that come out of my mouth unless they're aligned to my emotional body. So I think this is really powerful. Let's go to the 10th, which is a pretty significant day because we're going to see a new moon and we're going to see Mercury will have moved into Aries. So let me get the time of the new moon, which is 1 a.m. Pacific time. And this is the 5th in a series of new moons. And I myself, over the years 2022, 2023, noticed a pattern in the moons in which we would see a series at a specific degree. And I think that was important because the degree was giving us detail about how the universe can support the seeds that we're planting during a new moon. Here we see the new moon in Pisces at 20 degrees. Pisces, again, is your 8th house of transformation of other people's money. This is where you could take your creativity and actually create clients or set the seeds for creating clients, creating a flow of resources there. The 20th degree is the scorpionic degree, the Plutonian degree, the degree of transformation. And it's also a time when we're planting the seeds in the darkness, this darkest phase of the moon, where faith, where our instincts, where our eyes don't serve us the best, but our inner knowing does. So I think this is a really powerful, and Pisces by nature is probably the easiest sign to connect with the other side, to feel that when you connect, you can almost feel that Neptunian melting into the universe. So I think this is powerful for setting intentions for the things you want to experience moving forward. Now, Leo, I think also what's important is to remember that as you set the seeds for your own creativity, part of your opportunity is to step into the braveness of your heart and be courageous. That's what you rule, the spine and the heart. As we're watching this new moon here, and within a day or so, Venus is going to move into her domicile and start having a conversation with Saturn. And I think this is significant because it is picking up where she left off in Capricorn in February. Now she wants to make money with her own creative skills. And Saturn is going to say, well, let's talk about sustainability. But before we get there, let's go quickly over here to Mercury. Mercury is now moved over Neptune, where, thoughts might have been super dreamy. It also could feel like a little bit of confusion and a little bit of unknowing. But here we're being tasked over and over again to go into the inner knowing, the soul's intention that our charts represent, rather than looking at the landscape we're walking on with our eyes. The physical world is here to serve our intention. And as we harness that tool, we'll become more and more powerful in creating the things that we want, which will demonstrate the possibilities to others. Mercury moving into the sign of Aries is my thoughts are about, being pioneering in my own life, being brave, being aware of my anger and resentment, and like, how does that show up? And do I really inadvertently undercut myself? This Mercury moving into the 9th house of Aries for you is kind of significant because naturally, the 9th house is ruled by Jupiter, big thoughts, ideologies, etc. And now we have Mercury, who's dealing with my everyday life, my everyday tasks, my everyday thoughts, and tasking me to broaden them about myself. So, and this is why the layers are so powerful when we start to put them together and tell a story. Because I think that as Mercury went over Neptune, while there may have been some confusion, there could also very well been a feeling of life can be dreamier, life can be better than this, and how can I harness my everyday world into something that's more aligned to what I want to experience as a soul walking this human dynamic. Okay, let's go back to 12 o'clock. And we'll go 2 days from there to the 12th, and we'll see Venus has entered her domicile here in Pisces. I'm sorry, that's not correct. She's entered her exaltation, where she is a revered guest, where she has so much fun. There's so much excitement. Here, Venus is in the house of her best friend. And I absolutely believe that as she starts this conjunction with Saturn, and this conjunction, she starts with Saturn, triggers a sextile over here to the growing great conjunction. She is absolutely, thinking about her fears. She's thinking about how her fears can empower her. She's thinking about where she's been historically, what she's experienced. And at the same time, she's willing to be braver and to be aware that if she wants to live the life she wants and to exercise her skills, that Saturn is going to require her to continually believe in things that she cannot see, but she can only feel with her heart. Pisces is going to be something that really, that energy is not going to be solid. It's not going to be clear. It's not going to give you a pathway. It's going to give you an ocean to traverse. So as you traverse the ocean and you learn how to ebb and flow with it, because the ocean is in control, the emotions are in control. And as Venus moves into Pisces, Leo, she becomes more brave, more willing to say, okay, I can endure that unknowing. I know that I've got the skills. I can do hard things. I can make my world what I want it to be. And the whole time, Pluto's over here in the background, breaking down old things so it can renovate and innovate your partnership with yourself, that then creates more committed partnerships with others that create peace, harmony, and more joy for you. I think this is really powerful. We will see on the 19th of March. Let's see if we can get the sun into Aries. All right, let's go to change the time a little bit. Let's move it to 6 p.m. on that day. Nope, not yet. All right. Bear with me. I'm just going to go back to 12 p.m. and then put it to the next day. The sun is going to move into Pisces on the 19th. It's going to be later in the day, but here we see, I'm sorry, the sun is moving into Aries. It is exalted in Aries. So now we're seeing Venus in exaltation, where she is an honored guest. She is revered. All the fine china, the lovely pillows, good wine is flowing, music, it's all happening over here. And the sun is moving into its exaltation here of great bravery. The combination of your ruling planet and Aries is like, it's like a general and the king coming together to create a beautiful King Arthur and Lancelot coming together to create a wonderful, safe and harmonious landscape for their kingdom. And I think as you start to really think, how do I want to be brave? How do I want to create a kingdom in my own life? The North Node is here, pulling you forward, offering you individuality, offering you brave, heroic energy, so that you can transform any wounds and start to really extract the gifts that are being offered. That these planets, so many astrologers talk about the planets rewarding over time, but it's really not over time. It's over belief. It's over energy. So when you connect to something and you believe it in the depths of your heart, then the universe has no option but to heed your call, to answer your prayer. The challenge is that most people manifest on fear and they don't even realize it, because you can have a huge change in your career coming up unexpectedly. And this expansion of Jupiter, Jupiter rules business, commerce, influencers, marketing, publishing, as well as foreign people, higher education, foreign places. And we talked earlier about Aquarius. Uranus rules Aquarius. Things can happen unexpectedly, out of nowhere, like a lightning strike. And all of this is in the land of Taurus, which is ruled by Venus, over here having a conversation with Saturn about sustainability within my own creativity. So as you sort of take that self-authority and recognize that, as you assert yourself, where does my ego land? Is it in fear, edging God out, or is it in balance, saying, you know what, I deserve to be able to express myself. It's why my soul came to this planet in the first place. And I'm just going to click on the sun right now, we see sun is technically in a conjunction with Neptune. And I kind of see this as a sunset. In my mind's eye, the sun is near the ocean and it's glistening. Of course, we could take that in the dark side, but I'm not going to do that. We have a little bit of a blind spot here between the sun and Jupiter right now, but that is because this conjunction here is in a sextile to Jupiter. This is an illumination of some kind. It is, as you get through March and you had a full moon, a Leo full moon back in February as well during Aquarius season. And so I think whatever's been illuminated there, and then what you've planted in the way of this new moon in Pisces, this is a supportive aspect helping you to dig deep, dive deep into where you may feel nerves and trepidation, and also realize that that nervousness, that trepidation, that unsureness, that almost feeling like I'm going to die if I stick my neck out, is where the excitement is, the achievement is, the exhilaration is. It's where your dreams start to come true. So I think this is a very powerful time. We're going to see, but this dynamic between Venus and Saturn is going to take place starting around now, this tight conversation. It's also going to continue on when it becomes exact on the 21st at 12 degrees. And this is significant because I think that the 12th degree of any sign is the Piscean degree, the spiritual degree, the creative degree. And here, this conversation will continue as Venus then goes over Saturn and then moves away. She's going to have garnished information. I also want to mention that Saturn ruled the golden age. He gave mankind tools to succeed, to achieve, to feel purposeful. So I think this is a really powerful time, because as we move further and further into the year, the seeds that we're planting now will start to sprout and start to show harvest. Let's go to the 22nd. Do we have Mars? Not quite yet. Let's go to the 23rd. On the 23rd, we see that Mars has moved into Pisces. Oftentimes people will say this is not the strongest place at all for Mars. First of all, this is the 12th house, where it's the house where we feel unseen. It's also a house that's kind of murky and watery and unclear. But at the same time, I keep stretching for the higher vibrations of these landscapes, of these signs, and of these planets, because here this Mars is being tasked to go instinctual, to connect with his ancestors, to feel the support and the guidance that only comes through the gut, doesn't come through the eyes. And as Saturn moves closer and closer, Mars moves closer and closer to Saturn, oftentimes astrologers will say this dampens the energies. They're conflicting, but I disagree, because this is where Saturn is the mentor, and this is like King Arthur right now, and then Mars is kind of like the general, or Lancelot, and he's learning how to hone his skills on an intuitive level, a peaceful warrior, a spiritual warrior. And as we see, Venus is still in conversation here, and she's still garnishing information from Saturn as well. And then on the 25th, we see the first eclipse of 2024 and of the season. This is going to be a full moon lunar eclipse in Libra at 12 a.m. Pacific time. And I think this is very significant, because this moon is on the supergalactic center. The supergalactic center is within the Shapley cluster at 2 degrees, 22 minutes of Libra. So anything within a 5 to say 10-degree orb of that is significant in your natal chart. And here there's going to be an illumination. The illumination is, are you using your Venusian energy in a way that is serving you at its highest vibration? Are you serving the self? One of the main themes of the supergalactic center is the relationships that you have. And are they representative of the relationship and the healthy relationship you have with yourself? The relationship we have with ourselves is what brings peace, harmony, cooperation into the relationships we have with others. And this is not about being boastful or being entitled. It's about being in balance and understanding the value of ourselves when we come into a situation. We don't give up all that power to another human. We also see that this full moon lunar eclipse is in a square and a half to the great conjunction that is now, we're starting to feel it strongly. So there's going to be a desire for liberation and for expansion and for owning yourself, and potentially even creating some sort of business or expanding your business or broadening things in some way. You could have a lightning strike of an idea. It could even be a sudden change literally in your work environment. All righty. We also see, let's go to the moon here. We see that the moon is making a trine aspect to Pluto. And so this is, while it can still feel a bit disruptive, it is an illuminator of some kind. And this illuminator may be an example. You may walk into a situation where you felt disempowered before, but you feel more powerful about yourself now because you have a greater understanding. Let's click off the moon and let's show the aspects from the sun, because the sun is making a sextile to Pluto. So we've got the moon in trine, the sun in sextile to Pluto, supporting a spiritual awakening of some kind, an opening of some kind, maybe even on a more mundane level, bringing in how do I want to phrase it? Some creative ideas, a creative opportunity. You go for an audition and you get the job. There's so many things that could be going on because, again, something is happening in your 10th house. So your career, you have opportunities, and it's about stepping into those opportunities vibrationally. And then just finally, as we go through the rest of the month, we're basically this is what I think is the most powerful, is the continuing conversation between Saturn and Venus. As Mars comes in, brave action rooted in sustainability, and in a willingness to pace myself so that I don't burn out. And then, of course, this great conjunction, we see it's within 5 degrees now, and it will feel as if Jupiter is accelerating because Jupiter will be moving into Gemini, which in May, the end of May this year. So this is a powerful time again for setting intentions, for being aware of potentially our fears and where we let them hold us back, and maybe stepping just a little bit closer to them and allowing ourselves to pop through them so that we can feel our value in an experience that then will set a stronger tone for the next experience. All right, Leo, that's it for me, Teri Hunter. Please like, please subscribe, please share. And I will be back in April with so much to talk about. Have a great March. See you soon.